Hey all, Hipper here. Alright, so today's video is a little bit of a story about how I turned Edinburgh into a winner, basically, for me. Because this ship and we just didn't get along in the beginning, that's for sure. I was sitting on a win rate about 52% in this ship here, and I just couldn't make it work. I was playing traditional build, like using smoke and reload and range and all that stuff. And I think I did 100 battles, and I just didn't like the ship, and it didn't work for me. I tried putting an agile build on the ship here, but also that just didn't work. The rudder wasn't fast enough. And it wasn't really until Azure Lane Baltimore came on the stage that I started to think about an agile build on Edinburgh. And when Arpeggio Takao came out, another rudder inspiration, I went full agile on Edinburgh. I also changed my smoke consumable to the more useful radar consumable on my agile build. And those two things in tandem has really paid off for me. So let's just have a look at the build I'm actually running now on Edinburgh. So like I said, I went completely away from smoke builds and went full agile radar builds, like I do on most of my cruisers actually. And like the upgrades are pretty standard. Agile here, aiming systems 1, and then rudder in the second upgrade slot, rudder again in the third upgrade slot, and the improved reload in the last slot. So if you go look here, I'm using Tenant. And like I said before, I'm using Azure Lane Baltimore and Arpeggio Takao as my inspirations to get the rudder down below 2 seconds, which makes Edinburgh a very, very efficient agile cruiser. I really like the ship now. I think it's fantastic actually. So if you just have a look here at the stats, go down here and we see 1.9 second rudder. 36 knots, not amazing, but 680 meter turning circle radius, very nice. So this is a full agile build using radar on Edinburgh here. So with this change in my build, I played another about 200 battles, and I got my win rate in those battles up at around 63%. So a massive improvement there. And I was told over and over again by other players that Edinburgh wouldn't work as an agile cruiser because it was supposed to be a smoke cruiser, and it was supposed to sit and guard like tight spots and stuff like that. And initially I believed them, and I thought, yeah, it's probably not a very good agile cruiser. But reality is that it is probably one of the best agile cruisers now. So my point with all this here is don't just go on Facebook and ask for the best build for a ship, because a particular build may work really well for one player but be a total disaster for another player, like it was for me. I'm not afraid to say I did terrible with the smoke build. It's just not my style, and I'm doing much better now with an agile build that is, of course, really only possible because of the two rudder inspirations we have now. And that's also why I haven't really touched Edinburgh for a long time. Like I said, Baltimore made her better, but Baltimore and Takao makes Edinburgh excellent now. I really like this ship now. And the same thing with Hipper. It went from probably being my least played cruiser to probably being my most played now, along with Edinburgh. So that's what a bit of rudder can do for you if you're like me. And of course, like if smoke play and more traditional cruiser builds is your thing, then there's nothing wrong with that. That's what works for you, exactly. And you should obviously go with that build then. But don't just take someone else's word for it, that something isn't going to work, because that's just baloney. There's no reason to think that. At least you shouldn't try another build. I can now finally play Edinburgh as aggressively as I want to, and like the play style that yields the best results for me personally as a player. And of course, Yes, you need to invest in some premium commanders, unfortunately, yes, if you want to play, for example, Edinburgh as an agile cruiser, because like I said, you can't do it with just the standard commanders. Like, the rudder is simply too slow. So again, just to underline my point here, I am in no shape, way or form saying that one build is better than the other. I am saying that you should experiment before you decide on a build. And I know it is expensive to use commander resources on experimentation, and yeah, well, too bad, there's really no way around it. You can't really just borrow a commander for a day and then see how you go. But like you see, I enjoy agile builds and like all the naughty stuff I can pull off with these builds here. It's what I enjoy. I don't enjoy sitting and relying on my reload and what else have you in playing for me. I want a little bit more action. I want a little bit up close, like here with the Yami here, where you use your speed and your agility to completely outturn its turrets. And that's how you take him out. And that's fun for me, and that's how I like to play this game. So of course, also figuring these things out here requires like extracting your stats from Wargaming's website and putting a little effort into things. And I realize that probably most players won't do that. But of course, I need to be able to prove that I've actually done better with this build here. And as you can see, my win rate went up more than 10%, which is pretty nuts actually. Like, it works for me, and I cannot say for sure if it'll work for everybody. Of course it won't. But if you are like me, struggling in a ship, well, especially a cruiser, either if you have an agile build or you have a traditional build, try to switch out your build then. Perhaps it'll work. Maybe you go from an agile build to a more traditional build, or you go the other way. That doesn't really matter, as long as you give the other build a chance, because you never know. That could be exactly what made that ship shine in your hands. There's no way of telling that. And also, most importantly here, do listen to other players, because sometimes, yes, it's valuable, very, very valuable advice they give, but don't do it blindly and just, like I said before, go on Facebook and write a post saying, oh, what's the best build for Edinburgh? And then some random guy posts a build and then you go with that. Well, of course you can do that, but you're kind of limiting yourself, and you're not really playing the ship from all the different angles that you can. Just missed out on a crack in there. That was unfortunate. That happens a lot lately. So if you feel that you're doing better in a ship with a certain build, you most likely are. I could certainly feel a difference in Edinburgh here, and of course it's not all down to the agile build. It's probably also down to the fact that I popped the radar on. So I can't give the agile build the whole honor, but it's definitely a huge part of it. So like, experiment and like, get some experiences on the battlefield before you settle on a build, and then go with what works for you, basically. I mean, that's what I do, and it works nicely for me. So yeah, that was pretty much it here, how you're going from 0 to hero in Edinburgh, for example. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you out there.